Welcome back. This is Sports Extra. Now tonight you're joining us in Hopton at Potter's Resort, where they're getting ready for the World Indoor Bowls Championships. It's the biggest event of its kind in its sport. This really is the Wimbledon of bowls, the Wembley of bowls, if you like. Later on, we're going to be speaking to the two current world champions and finding out a little bit more about what it takes to put on an event of this size. But before that, we're going to hear from Jake Watson as he previews all of this weekend's sport. But first, Michael Bailey looking ahead to Norwich's return to championship action as they play bottom side Rotherham.
Thanks, Neil. Yes, Norwich City return to championship action tomorrow when they travel to the division's bottom side, Rotherham United. A win fully expected. Hopefully, the weather doesn't put paid to the fixture. It was, of course, the duty of City boss Alex Neil and forward Stephen Naismith to tee up the game at Colney. Here's what they had to say.
I think we've got to go there. We've got to go and try and win the game. If we play as well as we can, we would expect to win the game. But it's going to be a difficult task. You know what I mean? The one thing about every game in this league is if you're not up for the battle and up for the fight, then it can prove difficult. But I think obviously that's us sort of undefeated in 3. We should have beat Brentford. I thought we more than held our own against Southampton and had a really good performance against Derby. So, but yeah, we're looking to try and build on that, and this will be a good game for us if we can go up there and put a good performance on.
The last few games, I think in the press box, yours is a voice I tend to hear over everyone. And I think Alec himself has said that sometimes the side hasn't been vocal in the past year or so, but you seem to take that upon yourself a little bit.
It's something I've done my whole career. Everywhere I've been, from when I started at Kilmarnock as a teenager to moving down to Everton, where there's a lot higher profile players than me. I'm a winner, I want to win, and I'll do all I can. And if me telling a teammate to be somewhere, or if there's a man on or whatever that's going to make a difference, these wee things do make a difference, and I'll continue to do it. Depending
on what the outcome is of today, if there is any, then we're uncertain at the moment, so it really depends what happens, if anything. I mean, it might come to nothing, it might come to something, I'm not quite sure at the moment. It's not necessarily a problem, because like I said before, I've got a big squad, I've got guys who can fill in that area. So yeah, I've got players who can do that job. Obviously Robbie's not available, which would help if he was, but he's not.
Good to speak to Stephen Naismith, I thought, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably spoken to him a little bit more than I have since he got here. You know, he's done the odd post match, hasn't he? But always find him quite an engaging character. He's obviously an intelligent guy. We know all about his backstory, and he's not your archetypal footballer in terms of helping others and what have you. So back in Scotland, but yeah, no, he talks a lot of sense, and he's an experienced guy, and he knows things haven't been right. And Alex Neil, as I think you pointed out to him, he was very fulsome in his praise about his FA Cup performance, and he was good at Derby the previous week. So maybe we'll see an upturn in his Norwich career, because the first 12 months have been, well, you wouldn't even say patchy, would you really? After that high point of his debut against Liverpool, it's not been great. So it'd be nice to think he was rounding into a bit of a more meaningful contribution, I think.
And he seems like he'll be happy to hang around as well. That was the impression I got, because of course we don't know how January is going to pan out. Do you think you'll see Martin Olsson tomorrow?
You definitely won't see him tomorrow. No, definitely won't. For the simple reason that if this has been going for the last 2 or 3 days, he won't have been around here at the training ground, so you can't prepare. If you're Alex Neil looking to prepare for Rotherham and Martin Olsson hasn't been in the building for the last however many days, then no, you won't see him. And plus, of course, if there is a deal in the offing quite a long way down the line but isn't quite complete, you're not going to play him, risk him getting injured, and then the deal's off. So no, I don't think we'll be seeing him again in a Norwich shirt, is my take on that.
I wouldn't disagree. Thank you very much, Paddy. Don't forget, we'll have a live coverage, all the preview, all the analysis, pinken.com.
Thanks, Michael. Young Norfolk golfer Toby Briggs is on top of the world going into the new year after making his mark in a big event in the United States. The 17-year-old from Dunstan Hall went into the recent American Junior Championships at the St. Augustine Club in Florida, needing a top 9 finish or better to ensure he finished 2016 at the top of the junior rankings. And he duly rose to the challenge, shrugging off a disappointing second round to secure 5th place and get his hands on a prestigious piece of silverware. Briggs will be heading off to the United States full-time later this summer with a College in San Francisco his destination, and will be looking to build on his early successes across the pond with two-time major champion Jordan Spieth his inspiration. Now, weather permitting, tomorrow we'll see the first action of Scotto for a month when North Walsham take on their oldest rivals Barking. Amazingly, this will be the 40th time the sides have met in competitive action, with honours just about equal, the win-loss record standing at 2019 in Barking's favour. Having been relegated at the end of last season, the Essex side have struggled to move from the lower reaches of the table and are currently one spot from the bottom, and thanks to a 5-point deduction, 7 points adrift of Chelmsford. Vikings coach James Brooks will almost certainly warn against any complacency against a side desperate to move out of the relegation zone. In London 2 North East, Diss will have a point to prove when they travel to Romford and Gidea Park at Mackinder's tomorrow. The league leaders suffered their only defeat of the campaign so far back in October when they went down 24 points to 12 to the Essex side. Norwich face a tough task tomorrow when they host 4th placed Old Cooperians, having let another potential win slip from their grasp last week. The Norwich coaching staff were pulling no punches in their assessment of last week's game against Romford and Gidea Park, which they lost 30-27 and have called for a positive reaction this weekend. Holt's quest for survival in London 2 North East begins in earnest tomorrow at Ipswich. Ipswich, like Holt, have a young side as they look to rebuild and stand at just 1 place and 8 points above their second from bottom opponents. The form book suggests a close game, with both teams having recently conceded 40 points to Diss. And in local football, of course, once again, all dependent on the weather. Lowestoft are at home to relegation-threatened Mertham, although currently sitting in mid-table. A playoff spot is not beyond the realms of possibility for Aidy Gallagher's men if they put a decent run together. Kings Inn's good form will be tested when they head to third-placed Chippenham, while in Ryman League North, Dereham at home to Cornard United. Bottom side Wroxham face third-bottom Brentwood, and Norwich United are at home to Aveley.
Thank you very much indeed, Jake. Now, you join us back here in Hopton at Potter's Resort, where they're preparing for the World Indoor Bowls Championships. This really is the big one. This is the pinnacle of the sport. The best players from all over the world are joining us here in Norfolk over the next few days to try and take home the all-important World Championship. I've been speaking to the world champions from last year, from 2016, to find out what it takes to actually take that title home, whether the standard's improving, how tough it's going to be to win that title, but also looking a little bit behind the scenes, finding out what it takes to put on this huge event.
Remember sheer relief getting over the line come the end of the game. I remember a couple of bowls in the final, last bowl of the first set where I managed to sneak a draw, and then first end I think I got a 4 in the second set, so that was, you know, something to hang on to there. Other than that, it's all a bit of a blur really, because you're just concentrating. I don't know whether it was a good game, bad game, but not really too bothered either, to be honest. So it's really good to be back though. Live TV and a full house, for me it doesn't get any better. Yes, there's pressure, but to be any sportsman playing on TV, there's going to be pressure because you don't want to make yourself look a plonker. So you have to try and play as best you can, and the rest takes care of itself, to be honest.
Oh, incredibly special memories. It's always great to be back here. It's the place where every player wants to play. So being back at Potters is very special, and I'm really looking forward to next week when I start my title defence. Oh, it definitely stays with you. You know, you remember certain shots more vividly than others, and you do have to watch it back because most of the game is a blur at the time. You know, when you're getting interviewed after about a certain shot on a certain end, it's one of those where you're struggling to remember. But the atmosphere in the game against Rebecca Field was tremendous. It was a really close game, a well-fought game, and the crowd played a massive part in, you know, making the atmosphere so exciting and so electric.
So just how high is the standard at this competition? Tens of thousands of people will be packing into this arena in the coming days to watch the very best in the business. Greg Harlow's the current world number 4 and won the world title here back in 2010.
We have all the best players from around the world. I would say the majority of the very top players are either English or Scottish. Obviously the other countries are very good players as well. And at the end of the day, it tends to come down to one good shot between the top players. That's the nice bit about our sport. There's no bang on favourites. It tends to be on the day. To be honest, I think the standard has been at a very, very high level for a good number of years. I would say the standard is the same. Possibly players wouldn't waste as many bowls as perhaps years gone by. They might, you know, have a few more loose ones. But nowadays they tend not to use, you know, lose those bad bowls.
A holiday resort on the Norfolk coast between Yarmouth and Lowestoft might not seem the most obvious place for a World Championships. It's now the 19th time it's been hosted here. But how did it all come about more than 2 decades ago?
Nobody was doing indoor bowls holidays then. It was my father's idea to build indoor bowls arena and see if people would come on holiday there. And of course they did. And that grew and grew and grew until it became kind of almost the next step was to go to the World Bowls Tour and say, why don't you bring the World Championships here? They said no. So they were in Preston for 20 years, or near enough 20 years. Didn't want to come to the East Coast because they didn't see it as, apart from the fact Preston then was their Crucible or their Wembley, and we were not exactly central in the UK. So we built the arena, sort of £3 million later. We went back to them and said, now will you come? We built it. The next step really was to go via the raising the money that was in the game and put sponsorship up, and finally they said yes, they would come, and the rest is history.
So back to the here and now. This is the one they all want to win. But how do the current world champions rate their chances in 2017?
It is the big one of the year for us players, yeah, definitely. It's the best venue, look after us, fantastic, you know. And at the end of it, someone gets to say they're world champion, so it doesn't get any better.
Extremely tough. All of the players are more than capable of lifting the trophy. So I know I'm going to have to be on top of my game to have a chance of defending my title. But I'll certainly be, out there and practicing hard, and just got to hope that everything goes your way on the day.
Well, that's it for tonight from Hopton here at Potters Resort. Of course, plenty more sport coming up on Mustard TV over the weekend. Join Michael and the team as they bring you all the reaction from Norwich's return to Championship action. Of course, Sports Extra as well is back with you same time on Monday night. But until then, have a very good night.